Principle 2. Do not seek pleasure for its own sake. This principle often triggers resistance because pleasure at first glance feels harmless, even necessary. Food tastes good, comfort feels safe, distraction eases tension, pleasure promises relief. So why would Musashi warn against seeking it? Because seeking pleasure is different from experiencing it. Pleasure becomes dangerous when it turns into a compass, when your decisions are guided by what feels good now rather than what strengthens you over time. Musashi lived in a world where a single moment of indulgence could dull the edge of awareness. But this principle is even more relevant today. Modern life is engineered around stimulation, endless entertainment, instant gratification, constant dopamine. And yet, despite more comfort than any generation before, people feel restless, distracted, and strangely empty. That is not an accident. Pleasure, when pursued for its own sake, trains the mind to avoid discomfort at all costs. And growth requires discomfort. Discipline requires friction. Clarity often emerges only after boredom, frustration, or restraint. Musashi is not saying pleasure is forbidden. He is saying it must not lead. When pleasure becomes the goal, discipline becomes optional. When discipline becomes optional, strength erodes quietly. The problem with pleasure is not excess alone, it is dependency. If you need pleasure to feel okay, you become predictable. If you avoid discomfort instinctively, you lose resilience. If you chase stimulation, stillness begins to feel unbearable. A warrior who needs comfort is already compromised. But this applies far beyond combat. If you only work when motivated, you become inconsistent. If you only reflect when calm, you avoid truth. If you only act when inspired, you delay your life. Musashi understood that a stable mind cannot be built on fluctuating sensations. Pleasure rises and falls, mood changes, desire fades, but the way requires continuity. This principle invites a subtle shift. Instead of asking, "What do I feel like doing?" you begin to ask, "What is required right now?" That question changes everything. You eat to nourish, not to indulge. You rest to recover, not to escape. You enjoy pleasure when it appears without clinging to it. And when it disappears, you do not panic. This creates inner independence. You are no longer dragged by craving. You are no longer restless when stimulation is absent. You can sit in silence without reaching for something to fill the space. That ability is power. Not loud power, quiet power. The kind that allows you to stay steady while others chase relief. Musashi's life was harsh, but it was deliberate. He chose difficulty not because he hated pleasure, but because he understood its cost. Pleasure weakens attention. Avoiding pleasure sharpens it. And attention, in the end, is what determines the quality of your actions. This principle does not ask you to become joyless. It asks you to become free. Free from craving, free from avoidance, free from the need to constantly feel good in order to function. When pleasure stops being your master, discipline becomes lighter, and the way becomes clearer.